What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well. I know people are still coming in, so make sure if you're joining us right now, make sure to comment or message us. Let us know who's here. Always interested to see who's joining us. Appreciate y'all tuning in. So basically today, and the reason actually why we picked 7:30, if those who haven't put two together, is we are now officially 24 hours from kickoff. So literally, what time is it? What we got 7:33. So yep. So 24 hours from right now, we're
Yep.
kicking the ball off against USF. And I mean, I speak for myself. I'm absolutely thrilled. It's been a long time coming. And I know that fans are going to be absolutely just dying to get through the door. I know we're all going to be there, so we'll definitely keep you guys updated, so you guys can come meet us, see us. We can meet you guys as well. So definitely make sure to keep an eye out. We'll definitely be sharing our location so we can tailgate with fans again. It's been a long time coming, over a year and a half, and we can't wait to do it. So and for those two, so I know that one of the big news that came out earlier this week was that we were actually combining with the Picked Off podcast and Michael Tracy. And got Michael here with us, man. Michael, hope you're doing well, man. Looks like you got an NC State degree behind you. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yep. Yep.
Let's
Yep.
go.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually visiting my parents tonight, so this is my old bedroom, so I got my degree up there.
Hey, there you go. There you go. So again, so we're just getting excited today. I mean, just like, we have some questions here that were submitted that we wanted to kind of discuss, until about 8:30 or so. And then, just kind of talk about the USF game, but the season in general. And again, just it's the night before the game. So let's get talking about it. So one of the first questions, and by the way, too, if you haven't already, please make sure as well to subscribe to us on YouTube. It really helps support us in the channel. And please follow us at Tuffy Talk Now. And again, just check out all of our great state content. We just came out with a great two-part series with head football equipment manager Terry Calloway, Country Calloway, and learned a lot in terms of from the equipment side. Learned about the new Slobbering Wolf helmet that they're going to be wearing tomorrow. So definitely make sure to go check those out if you haven't already. It was awesome. So first question, diving right in. So really the first question that came to point, actually, Red and White podcast, shout out to them, was actually one of the first ones to actually put this out. But would you guys be disappointed with an 8-4 season this season? Would you be disappointed or would you be happy?
Michael, you're the guest. You go on first.
All right, thanks. It depends on who we beat and who we lose to. I think, if we go 8-4 and our losses are Mississippi State, Clemson, Miami, UNC, I don't think I could have any complaints there. But if we end up losing to Wake Forest, maybe Louisville or Boston College, and then we somehow beat Clemson or beat both Miami and UNC or something, and that would be disappointing to me. But 8-4, it's hard to be disappointed overall with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Macon.
No, so I kind of am on the same boat you are a little bit. It depends who we lose to, but I will say specifically, if we can't get any one of those big wins, it will be a disappointment to me, I think. It's a matter of, like you mentioned, okay, say if we lose to Clemson, Miami, Carolina, Mississippi State, those are your four toughest opponents pretty much.
Yeah.
And you're saying we don't beat any of them. That's going to be like, okay, how do we do this again? We haven't beaten a really good team this year with this team. That's going to be really hard to swallow. If we were to do something like what you mentioned, I think, which, we have our prediction video, Lane and I put together. I think this team is like a 9-3 team. I think it's what that's what will happen, in my opinion, assuming everybody stays healthy. But if we were to go, say we beat Carolina or we beat a Miami and Mississippi, say we beat Miami, Mississippi State, but we lose to Clemson and Carolina, and we drop one to, you mentioned Wake Forest. Am I going to be disappointed in this season? I don't think I'll be disappointed. I think I'll be disappointed we lost to Wake Forest. I would think, man, we got Mississippi State and we got Miami on the road. Those are really good wins. Finally got that SEC win that we've been losing to. But I think it depends on if we lost to every single team that's ranked ahead of us at this point. Yeah, I would say it's a disappointment. Otherwise, I think 8-4, if you look back on it down the road, like at the end of the season, it's a good season. Now, that does not include a bowl game. And, I think if we were to lose the bowl game going 8-4, that would make us 8-5. Yeah, that's disappointing. But those are my thoughts. What do you think, Leighton?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, again, and I've said this in a couple of videos, but really the biggest thing which I'm looking for this season is really the movement in the right direction for the entire program. And because one of the things I've always kind of hyped on when it comes to Dorn is his consistency. How with O'Brien, it was a famous like yearly thing that he would win against like FSU or he'd like dominate Clemson, but then he would lose to like he'd get killed by Virginia or he would lose to, again, just like a nobody. And it's just like Dorn, he's famous for consistency, which is good and bad. I mean, it's for me, I would say that consistency is a great thing to have. And so for me this year, I think that if you look at the games that we should win, I think that, again, you mentioned the four games that we should lose. I mean, theoretically, we should lose those games, but I think that for this team and the experience that we have, for the amount of senior leadership that we have, for the amount of skill that we have, for the amount of depth that we have, I just don't see how for any one of those four games we can't pull one of those off. Because I think that for me, if you can go 9-3 heading into the bowl game, I'd be happy with that. Now, would I be thrilled? No, because at the end of the day, I'm looking for, again, taking the next step. And because I think that for this team, and I mean, I truly do. I would say, honestly, I think this is the best team Dorn's had to date. That's my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I think from top to bottom, this is the best team that they've had. And again, that's big to say. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I want to kind of add to that. I think specifically, I think it's his deepest team. I think that. So, you could argue you had the Chubb, that whole defensive line in 2017 with Chubb, Hill Street, and oh my gosh, Jones. And that was a great defensive line. You had Ryan Finley throwing to Kellen Harmon, Naeem Hines, great team. Bradbury on the line. But this team, the biggest thing to me is staying healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, I mean, I think that we have enough depth there that, again, I think that we could. Again, I mean, injuries are going to happen. I mean, unfortunately, as tough as say, football is football, and there are going to be injuries. It's just a matter of, can we limit it? And then we just got to have that next man up mentality. It's as simple as that. So I want to kind of jump into here a little bit with some of the other questions that are kind of coming in. So Ronald Flippin talking about should you win pass outs and do they actually impact second half attendance? Well, I mean,
that's my take. That's my take on it. I know Leighton probably feels differently, but
no, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm definitely on Dorn's side, and again, we've been tweeting it out that we need to be a 4-quarter fan base. That you look at most any other every game is important, especially this season. Every game is super important this season for not only Dorn, for the program, and for us. We've been waiting for so long to get in the stands. So why at this point, would you not? Because I think that honestly, if COVID taught us anything, it's to value games, value football games. I mean, value being able to come in person and sit in a packed stadium and get, hearing the, loud fans and, enjoying watching some football, like, watching a great team, because we do have a great team and we've had a great team for most years except for 2019. So that's what I'm saying is I feel like that, especially for this year, I really, truly do hope that, especially for this season, that we shouldn't have too much of an issue with having fans stay. But, Michael, I'll let you go.
I'll say, I'll this too. I think if you guys haven't seen that clip of Dorn, having his weekly press conference, I think it was, and he's kind of giving his spiel about advocating for the fans. Fans keep saying, well, y'all need to put a good team on the field. This is your sign, basically. Mm-hmm. It's a good team this year. Mm-hmm. So be there. I think sometimes state fans get a bad rap, or not bad rap. I think that we're starting to tread into territory where we're talking too big for our britches. Like, oh, we're the best football team, but a lot of y'all don't stay. So we're starting to get into that territory, but you go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. I don't, the pass outs, I don't think they should, or they will end, but I think fans need to get into the mindset of that. okay, if you're going to leave, you got to come back in and support the team. And on the topic of, you put a good product on the field, we'll come back in. It's kind of a chicken and the egg situation. It's like, well, if you're there to support the team, that's going to kind of help the team in the second half. So, but it's tough. It's just tough.
Yeah. And that's differing opinions. Like we said, it's just that you guys get a taste here. It's those, Michael and Layton feel like they should. I feel like they shouldn't. And that's part of the fan base stuff. They all think differently.
Well, the one thing which I will say in defense of the pass outs is there's no doubt, again, I mean, like, I know throughout the offseason that people have been commenting saying, well, we need to improve the video board. We need to improve the sound system. We need to improve, like the concessions, the bathrooms, they're all very old. They've been there for a long time. And so, I mean, I do think that in terms of facilities wise, there are rooms for improvement. But at the end of the day, what I would say back to it is, at the end of the day, you're there to watch a football game, and you're there to cheer these boys on. You only get to do it 7 times a year, home games. So why not enjoy every minute that you get, every opportunity that you get, especially again with what just happened during COVID. Like how could you not value the heck out of it at this point?
Right.
Like be dying to go watch every single minute that you can. So
I'll add this too. Like I remember one time back in the when I was in college, back in 2011 or 12, which game we had the Maryland game that we were losing so bad, and I had some family friends at home that never kind of visited. I was like, you know what? I never leave the game, but I'm just going to leave because I'm going to go home, and this is going to be blowout. And you know what happened? It happened to be like the greatest comeback in history. So you guys think about that. Oh well. We're losing a game. I'm not going to waste my time and go home. Comebacks happen with fan support. They don't just happen. Oh, if everybody leaves, you know what? That's really invigorated us, and we're going to really fight hard. No one does that. You guys got to. Fans have to be there, and then you realize that a lot. You could argue. You could see maybe a win more because fans stay. Fan support matters to players. You see them all leave, they're going to not want to play hard.
And for recruiting as well.
Yeah.
Add that in.
So, and do people really leave halftime because the bathrooms are not good? Like, I get to go use the bathroom, but they don't come back. That's odd.
They do the job. That's what matters. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of people leave to go back to their tailgate. They can get some more food and drinks and stuff instead of staying in. So.
Well, and Ron, I know that you had submitted a couple of questions, but I want to kind of jump around, make sure we get kind of touch on everybody. But Russell mentioned about how about our kicking game? I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that between Trenton Gill and Chris Dunn, that in my opinion, we have one of the top 10 kicking duos in the country. I don't think you can really argue that. I mean, Chris Dunn is money in the bank. He has been. I mean, he not saying he makes every single one, but he makes most. He makes most. And I mean, Trenton Gill, he's widely known as one of the best punters in the country, which is huge for this season especially. So I think for me, and I'll let you guys chime in, I think it's pretty plain and simple that kicking game, I'm not worried one bit. Not worried.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's nice to have some consistency and reliability there at kicking and punting, because it can really change the game. I mean, obviously kicking, we all know Kyle Bambard, that name's stuck in our heads. But I mean, punting too, if you can down the team, inside the 10 consistently, that makes a huge difference in field position.
Well, because one piece I want to add in though too is that I think that state, like, fans don't even realize, actually punting wise, we've actually had top tier punters for a while. I mean, like look back at like Will Bauman and then AJ Cole and now Trenton Gill. Yeah. I mean, they're we've had at least 10 years stretch at least of great punters. It's just the kicking game. But I mean, even kicking game, I would say, I mean, you had Nicholas Sadie. And then you had that little stretch, and now you have Chris Dunn. But I mean, so again, I think that kicking wise, that hasn't overall been the issue. Now, obviously, there has been times. I completely understand that, but I mean, overall, I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
I think it's just kicking game. Those guys have been consistent. They're money in the bank, like Layton said. I don't want our team to be, because like because Chris Dunn is so good and
Yeah.
so reliable, I don't want us to get conservative sometimes. Like, I don't want us to be like, hey, we're at the 40 or the 35-yard line and it's 4th down and 2. But let's kick it. I don't want it to be like that if we can help it. So, you want to be wise about it. And I think Doran's shown he's willing to go for it, a lot of times. So, that's the only thing.
It's just a great thing that Doran has the ability that, like, if just like you said, if they are on the 35-yard line, so it would be a 52-yard field goal, that I'd be confident with Chris Dunn kicking a 52-yard field goal. But I'm also confident that if it's 4th and 2, then my offense can convert as well. That's a great benefit. That it's not like you're forcing your hand that, well, I got to kick it because I'm not really comfortable with the offense. It's like, no, you can go either way depending on what you're seeing. So, go ahead. You have a point making?
No, I was just going to say there, Chris Dunn's a weapon. Will Bauman, Will Bauman, Trent Gill, he's a weapon. I mean, they're going to use him and they're going to be recognized. Those guys will be playing in the NFL probably someday.
Yeah.
Very soon.
I agree. Got to give a what's up, Jason. Appreciate you showing up, man. So talking about, so Ronald, I know you had some others. So linebackers have gotten a lot of publicity, but what will be the actual strength of the defense? Again, in my opinion, I think this will be the best defense that Doran's had yet, hands down, not even close. So just because, again, there's no doubt that I think that you look at 2017, and I think that one was more stud filled. I mean, there were studs with Chubb and Justin Jones, B.J. Hill, and Catavia Street. But I think with this one, from top to bottom, that I think that you have a lot of experience, you have a lot of skill as well. But again, I think that you also have studs in like Peyton Wilson, Isaiah Moore, and even Drake Thomas. Again, I remember ACC came out with like top 5 linebackers, and Peyton Wilson and Isaiah were 2 of those top. But somebody else said, well, Clemson also has 2 that were on that list as well. But my comeback would be, well, I would honestly say that Drake Thomas, even though he's maybe not necessarily a starter, he's got to be top 10, top 15, definitely at least in the ACC. I mean, that dude's a beast. Like, if Isaiah or Peyton go down, I'm very happy. I'm like, again, not saying that I want that to happen, but I'm just saying I still feel very confident that Drake Thomas can come in and get the job done and do a great job. So, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. I mean, the last couple of years, our secondary has always been our weakest spot. And,
no doubt,
it's nice. Although, I mean, we have such a good front linemen and linebackers.
Front 3.
It's still secondary still might technically be our weakest spot, but I'm way more confident in them this year than I have been in the last couple of years. And linebackers are going to be. I'm excited to watch them.
See, to me, I think Lane's point. You say this is the most talented defense we've had in years. I think one of the deepest positions on this team are the DBs. Personally, I mean, you got to think like I was looking at. I went and glanced back at that team in 2017. Obviously, you've got the 4 defensive linemen. You've got your linebackers were Jared Fernandez and Arius Moore or Jermaine Pratt, which now Pratt's in the NFL. But your nickel was Sean Boone. Your cornerback was Mike Stevens and Jonathan Alston. And then your safeties were Tim Kid Glass or Jarius Moorhead. And now you've still got Chris Ingram on the roster, but you've got Shaheem Battle, who all indications sound like he is locked up his cornerback spot. You bring in Derek Pitts, who apparently has been great. And then you have, I'm trying to think who the other guys on the roster, Tayshawn Smith. You've got, and that you got who the guy just mentioned, Chris Ingram. You've got, I think, that there was Cecil Powell, something. I don't know if he's on the roster right now. Tanner. I'm just getting the corners. Then you get the safety.
Oh,
then you get the safety. And then you've got Tanner Ingold. And some reason, I heard this on another podcast. The leading tackler was last team on the defense, I think it was. Or in, other than, I think from a defensive back spot. You know who it was? It was Jakeem Harris. Jakeem Harris. From a defensive back spot. So, you guys, I mean, they've got a really good defensive back score there compared to that 2017 team. Again, my concern is, do they stay healthy?
Well, because one thing too, which I even like as well, and I think that one of the things that I do gotta say, because again, I was there. I was a football manager while Coach Huxtable was there, and there's no doubt in my mind that Coach Huxtable is, first of all, one of the greatest guys that you'll ever meet. Just a super cool guy. But obviously, all state fans, including myself, had concerns or worries about Huxtable's defensive scheme, just because of the fact that corners would play off so far, like 10 to 15 yards off of the wide receiver, and it's like, when are we going to step up and challenge these guys, and not just let them do slants and curl routes all day long, just because you're worried about getting to be deep. And, and also too, like how like the cornerbacks, wouldn't look back for the ball at all, which again, I completely understand the point that, you play the hands, which I get, but it's a matter of that at the end of the day, you got to challenge these guys. And I feel like that, especially last year, one of the biggest things I saw was that you did not see our cornerbacks were afraid to get physical, which is great to see from a fan perspective. That, literally, look at that Liberty game. Like holy smokes! Like whenever if any fan wants to bring up to me about our defense, I say, look at that Liberty game. Like when would, like, especially against Liberty, who averaged 500 yards of offense per game. When would you ever expect, who state fan would have bet that the defense would have won that game? Like literally the defense won that game. Offense was off that day. The defense won it for us.
And I forgot to even add Aiden White. You mentioned Liberty game. Cornerback, another guy I forgot to mention. So he had, they're just deep, and their defense is great, and they're basically returning everybody back. So it's going to be very exciting. Can they stay healthy? I mean, you mentioned David Huxtable, and I can't remember who the old cornerback coach used to be. I know you'll know Leighton.
He's actually at USF. George Barlow. He's actually the cornerbacks coach.
I think hiring was it Brian Mitchell is the guy's name from Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
I thought it was a great hire. I know he's worked with Gibson,
Wiles.
Because West Virginia. Yeah. So they've all basically have worked together, and Brian Mitchell knows how to produce some cornerbacks because Virginia Tech has some in the league. So I think it's a big hire. Again. It's just exciting. I mean, it is when you can look at the linebacker core and you say there is not a drop off really. You have Peyton Wilson, Drake Thomas, and you've got Isaiah Moore, and then it sounds like was it Devon Betty is like doing really good, or Jalen Scott. I think both those guys are stepping up at linebacker. So they're not obviously not Peyton Wilson, but they're all indications are like the staff is really good there. To me, if I'm worried about anything, I actually am more worried about, we have some guys who have never started so much at the defensive line, on defensive line. Like, I think CJ Clark's going to be great. I know, and Corey Durden's going to be, I think, a really great piece, but some of the other guys I know, and Daniel Joseph has obviously had a really good, he's played really well, but how do they rotate? Some of those guys, I just don't know. I mean, Aleem McNeil is a great player for state that's now obviously apparently he was one of the best looking or performing players that the Lions drafted in their entire draft. So that's the only thing that I'm really concerned about for the defense. It's just, how is that defensive line going to rotate? We've also forgotten this too. Tyler Baker Williams at nickel. He's back healthy again. So
Yep, boy. And again, at the end of the day, I look at, Charlie Wiles, in my opinion, he's one of the best defensive line coaches in the country now. So I think that, especially you look at last year, that not only were they good, but they were efficient. They made solid plays. They weren't necessarily heroes per se, but they were solid. You knew every single game they were going to produce as they are expected to. Now, one player that I think that if he can take a step forward would be huge is Josh Harris. I think Josh Harris could be another big guy. He was huge for us on like the goal lines for us, but I think that guy could be huge. And even Savion Jackson. Savion Jackson was a 4-star defensive end. And I think he was solid last season, but I think this could be a breakout year for him.
I know some guys think Davin Vann, the defensive tackle from Cary, could be a guy who could step up too. You mentioned Josh Harris could be a huge guy. he is a huge guy.
Well, yeah,
he literally is
physically.
huge.
Literally is a huge guy.
He's literally huge.
And one thing too, which I want to bring up too, is I was actually talking to former state wide receiver Stephon Lewis actually here today, and because we were talking about season coming up, and he was saying that he's actually been talking to Thayer Thomas and Emeka because he's still close friends with them, and I mean they both have said that, I mean, watch out. And I mean, Stephon Lewis, he told me on the phone, he said, I'm calling it right now. Thayer Thomas is going to have a breakout year this season. And I'm like, really? Like, I mean, he's already been solid. He's already been good.
Totally agree.
And he's like, oh no, you haven't even seen it yet. You just wait. I was like,
totally
all right. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm getting excited just listening to you talk. So
I know. So go with it, man. Go with it.
No, I'm curious who you guys think are your breakout players. Like,
yeah.
I'm curious on offense and defense. If you had to pick one guy, or if you really like Torn, say who the second option is. But who are your guys for breakout players on each side of the ball?
Go, Michael.
I would probably say Thayer Thomas as well. I mean, he made some plays last year like that were just crazy. Like even returning kicks or punts. I know Amezi's our number one receiver, but like I still think he's kind of underrated just in the conference, and I think he will have a big year too.
By the way, Pepperoni, Porter Rooks, I agree with that too. Actually, sorry, I had to put that one because I'm like, oh yeah, Porter Rooks. But yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, our whole receiving, like Devin Carter, he's like an NFL size wide receiver.
No one's talking about Devin Carter. That's what gets nobody's talking about Devin Carter.
Nobody. No. So who do you got on defense though?
I think I'm really excited to see Corey Durden, a transfer from Florida State. I think he's going to make a big difference and kind of come in and fill that spot that Lee McNeil left.
He's actually the guy I'm actually most excited about watching tomorrow, just because.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen most of these guys play, but like I haven't seen him before in a state uniform. I've seen him play against us, but I'm excited to see him in a state uniform and excited to see what he does tomorrow. But so for me, first name that came to my head was CJ Riley. I think that he finally has the season that we've all been expecting from this guy. I mean, this dude is, he's 6'3", 6'4", runs like a 4.3 40. He's fast, he's tall, and so it's only been a matter of time. But unfortunately, he's just been really injury. He's had a lot of injuries. So I think that with him, this being his 6th year, that I think that he's going to break out. But the name which I'll actually say, and somebody actually mentioned about what is our weakest part of our team, O-line or tight ends. I would actually say Dylan Parham's going to have a breakout year this year. I think you see a great year for him. And now, because the only reason why I say, because I'm not necessarily saying that he's going to like lead the team in receptions or lead in touchdowns or lead in passing yards. I'm just saying because at the end of the day, people are expecting that tight end is going to be a problem for us. But I think back, and I can't remember which game it was, but I think it was a throw. I think it was against UNC a couple of years ago, and it was a pass play either from J. Sam or Thayer, and they threw it to him, and Dylan had this crazy one-handed catch and brought it in. I mean, this guy was a former quarterback, but dude, he's an athlete, and I think that there's a reason why that for this team that you don't really see much filler, because I think that the team truly does have a lot of faith in Dylan as a catcher and as a blocker. But defense, I would say for me, I think Jakeem Harris takes a big step forward. I think you see him stepping a lot more and making, honestly, Jakeem Harris and Tanner Ingle one of the best safety duos in the ACC. That's my prediction. So, yeah.
Okay. So hold on, I got to give mine.
Go. No. So I'm not saying I wasn't saying that to move on. I was saying like, whew, man. All right, I got mine out. So go.
It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick. I'm not saying we're going to go win a national championship or anything like that. But I'm just saying no. So let me ask you this to make sure to be clear. What do you guys define as breakout player? Like when you say the number one option, like what is your definition of breakout player? Like someone no one's ever heard of, and now everybody's like, whoa, hey, this guy, or somebody's like. You mentioned Thayer Thomas. Everybody knows Thayer Thomas, but like, all ACC receiver, second team.
Right.
What are your definition?
Mine is basically what fans are expecting from them compared to what they actually become. So that's why I'm saying Dylan Parham, even though he may not be the best player on the field, I think that fans are not really expecting much from him or the tight ends. But I think that he does. I think he is a solid weapon for us this year. That's my definition.
And so you're saying, and by that logic, you're saying he makes the greatest jump from people don't know much about him to holy crap, like Dylan Parham.
Well, I think that again, that fans are going to see him just again be a playmaker for us, and again because everybody's looking at the wide receivers, but I do think that again I think that like obviously losing our tight end. Kerry Angeline.
Kerry
Hawkinson. No, not TJ Hawkinson. Kerry Hawkinson. It's a big loss. So I think he steps in there and does a solid job stepping. And because I think that if Dylan can step in there, that just makes the wide receivers even better because now the linebackers have to pay attention to the tight end spot. They have to pay attention to him. So
Michael, your definition of breakout.
Yeah.
I think of it more as performing well above expectations.
Generally same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a name people know, but they could become like an all ACC player.
Okay, so but when you say Thayer Thomas, that was the first one out of your mouth. Do you think people's expectations of Thayer are like low? I don't think that's what you mean, but do you think that they have a solid thinking of him and they have no idea what's about to happen this season, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think he could sneak on to an all ACC team at the end of the year, just because
first team
electric. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it could happen. I mean, you got to think first team's hard though. I mean, that's because I know right now it's Jakari Robertson for Wake Forest. They've got Zay Flowers for Boston College.
Justin
Ross from Clemson. Yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, but it could happen. Maybe I could see it happening for him. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things for Josh Downs at Carolina. I've heard a lot of good things about a few other players. For me, going back to the original question, who do I think? Honestly, breakout player. I kind of want to say it sounds kind of weird, but I do think Devin Leary is still an option for this because people have had 3 games of Devin Leary and they still really don't know what they got with Devin Leary. They kind of got an idea, but I think Devin Leary could end up being like a third-team All-ACC quarterback personally.
Well, because I think that
if he's healthy.
Because I think that as an ACC breakout player, because I think that the conference and the national media are overlooking Devin Leary. But I think that us fans who've seen him play against Duke, against Pitt, know that this guy is. I mean, he's talented, man. He's an awesome quarterback, and I think is ridiculous. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But again, the national media doesn't talk about him. Again, they don't even have him as a top 5, quarterback, which I think that he'll easily finish in there as soon as he stays healthy. I think he easily finishes inside top 5. So even with as much as star-studded as the ACC is this year in quarterback, I truly still think that. So it's simple as that.
I'm another guy. I mean, you mentioned earlier, I think Thayer Thomas is going to be. I think he'll be a third-team All-ACC receiver at least. Is what I think.
At least,
I think that if he's healthy, and obviously I say that I'm going to stop saying if he's healthy. Everybody assumes that
everybody knows.
Everybody assumes.
So, I think Devin Carter could have a big season. I mean, who are you going to? I mean, I'm going to be interested to see what teams prioritize. Are they going to start to try to? Okay, are we going to have to pick the run or the pass? I'm making it sound like we're the greatest teams in sliced bread, but
we're deep.
Donovan Knight is no joke. Ricky Person is a great, solid, high floor running back, and I mean they talk about Jordan Houston trying about a receiver. That would be tough to guard at receiver. And then you've heard the stuff about Demi Sumo. For those who haven't heard of Demi Sumo, he's a new rookie running back that apparently everybody has already coming out of this preseason camps. Even the running backs, even the coaches, all of them have been like, when they ask who was a guy who stood out, almost every single one of them who's been asked has at some point said Demi Sumo. So just prepare yourself. I don't think it's this year, but if he's that good, everybody's mentioning he'll play a little bit. But I think personally, I think Devin Leary is still the breakout player. I think he's going to be like everybody's going to be talking about Devin Leary. And I think Devin Carter's going to have a big season. I think to me, I think of Thayer Thomas, like he's already up here. Like I know what I'm getting with Thayer, and he's going to have a great year. I think he's an all AC season, but I think Devin Carter's going to be like I knew he was he was like a receiver on their team, but I didn't know he was he was that good. I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be a major red zone target personally.
Yeah.
And for defense, I'm going to say breakout is I think CJ Clark's going to have a big year. I think CJ Clark's going to have a big year because he's a big hole for Lee McNeil to fill. And obviously Corey Durden's there. But I think CJ Clark's going to have a big year. I think he's going to see Durden come in, and he's already had a big year last year. I think he's just going to pick up and have more fuel for competition to stay on the field, try to outplay Durden personally. And then, I think Derek Pitts is an option to discuss too, because nobody's heard of him. Everybody's like, I think the average casual NC State fan has been like, was he on that team last year? I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I told my dad he's a really good big NC State fan, but he's he's probably a casual NC State fan. He doesn't follow it like I do, and Leighton, Michael, you guys do. He'd be like Derek Pitts. Like I think Pitts is gonna have a big year personally. Yeah. So, but those are my thoughts. Now let me ask you this: who is the most underrated player on the other side of the ball, on each side of the ball? And I'm going to start because I have mine.
Yeah.
Okay. I think offensive line, I think Dylan McMahon is going to be a guy who is going to be a big factor for this team on offensive line.
Is there really a big difference, though, between underrated and breakout, in your opinion?
I think so. I would say breakout is more like this guy's going to just blow up. And I think and everybody's going to be talking about him. That's me. And we don't have to ask that question, but I think it could be just me saying this. But I think Dylan McMahon is going to be a guy because everybody's talking about Grant Gibson and Ike Ekwonu. I think McMahon is going to be like a big time offensive lineman for us. I don't think it's going to be like everybody's going to be talking about McMahon, but I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be like, okay, he's pretty daggum good. And that's what I think. And then I think the same kind of thing goes with I think Jakeen Harris is going to be the underrated guy. I think he's a really great player, but I think I don't think Jakeen's going to be like a holy cow, look at Jakeen Harris go. But I think he's going to be like a glue guy. If you don't have Jakeen on the field, it's going to really be tough. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that honestly for our offensive line I think that starting wise, we're very happy with who we have starting on the offensive line. I just worry about the depth behind it. Now, at the end of the day, Doran's been able to produce solid offensive lines year after year. So I mean, I'm at the end of the day, my what I always say is, at the end of the day, you gotta trust Coach Doran. He's gotten us here to this point, so you gotta trust that he's confident in who he has behind our starters. So that's what I'll say about that. So I mean, I truly would just agree with you in general, saying I think our offensive line is underrated. Nobody's talking about Dylan McMahon. Nobody's talking about Tyrone Riley. But the fact that Tyrone Riley I think this is his 7th year I think it's his 7th year because he got a red shirt and then he got a medical red shirt and a COVID year. So I think if I'm not mistaken, this is his 7th year. So I mean, nobody talks about him, but I think that he's going to be big for us. So again, I mean, he has the most experience maybe in college football this year.
And to add this too, another offensive lineman I think anybody's kind of like Derek Pitts. He was not here last year. I think that Chandler Zavala. I think he's going to be a big-time addition for NC State. If he can – I think he had a little bit of the injury bug hit him in preseason or something to that effect. But I think he's going to be a very big – personally, I think the offensive line is going to be – I know the depth chart – I haven't seen the depth chart come out. Have you guys seen that yet at all?
They haven't released it.
They're not going to release it until tomorrow.
Okay, so I think you're going to see, not in no particular order, Ike, McMahon, Grant, And then I think you're going to see Zavala, and I think you're going to see Riley.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I think. Yeah. Or Spees at right tackle. I don't know if it's going to be Riley or Spees, but that's what I think.
Yeah, solid. And because, again, if there's one thing you know about Doran offensive linemen, you know that they're trained to learn multiple positions, whether you could switch them out for guard or tackle or center or whatever it is. So that's why, again, confident, and, it'll be exciting to see what happens with them. Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say for underrated, I would say on offense, I would flip it to Devin Leary, just because I do think that, obviously you've got DJ Ungalale, Sam Howell, obviously a top 2 QBs. But I think Devin Leary could easily be the 3rd best QB in the league. I mean, not that he'll compete for the Heisman or anything, but I think he'll definitely.
So that's high
at the end of the year.
That's high call, because you're saying you think he could be better than Jerkovich and Derek King.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Only Derek King, just because he's coming off the injury. I don't know what to expect yet.
That's a fair point.
But
yeah, that's a fair point. So one question which I've been dying to ask you guys, though, is, so I know that Doran said in a statement that Ben Finley is that the depth chart behind Leary is Ben Finley or Aaron McLaughlin. But
really,
I think
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
I saw that.
He put an or. He put an or there.
He put an or. Yeah.
Or.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So I'm assuming by your reaction making that you were expecting that Ben Finley would be 2nd and Aaron McLaughlin would be 3rd. Is that what I'm getting at?
I thought Ben Finley has learned the playbook, and he's been here longer, and he was the 2nd string guy at spring ball. I thought it would be him, and I thought they would maybe redshirt McLaughlin. I didn't think. I do think McLaughlin's a better athlete, and I think he's the future for State. No offense to Ben Finley, I just think Aaron McLaughlin's going to be the guy moving forward. He had offers from Alabama, Michigan, Miami, you name it, Ohio State, I think. But to say he's already the that would be interesting. I didn't know that. Like they would potentially debate putting him, if Larry got injured, putting him as a starter. That's interesting to me.
Well, I don't know if that was just for the USF game, because hopefully we're winning up big at the end of the game, and they might put McLaughlin in there,
as they should.
Or if that's for the whole season. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and I mean, and because in my opinion, because there's really 2 things. So, because if I asked you these 2 questions, I think that I would pick one, and then for the other question, I'll pick the other. So the first question that comes to my head is, if, knock on wood, I'm knocking on wood over here, Devin Leary goes down, I'm knocking again, because holy crap.
Has anybody taught him how to slide?
Yeah. No. So if he does go down, who would you want to come into the game, Aaron McLaughlin or Ben Finley? My answer would be Ben Finley, because of the fact that you look at the Carolina game where he stepped in over Bailey Hockman, and you saw a great player, but you just saw freshman mistakes. You saw freshman turnovers, you saw freshman mistakes. But I think that now, with having a full off season with Tim Beck, just like with Leary, I think having a full off season with Tim Beck, Devin Leary is going to take a step up. I think the same thing. Ben Finley is going to take a step up. And I think that I'd be more confident. Because also, too, look at the spring game. Honestly, Ben Finley was the guy that actually impressed me the most. Because, I mean, at one point, at the beginning of the game, he got rolled by Tanner Ingle. And he still fought through that and played a heck of a game with the 2nd string guys. He played a heck of a game. And so I feel confident. Now, the second question, which I would ask, is, because I truly think, unfortunately, after this season, that one of the 2 of them is going to transfer. I just don't see us keeping these 3 guys and have MJ Morris coming in and both those guys sticking around. But so for me, I would say, unfortunately, because I love Ben Finley. I love Ben Finley. I love the Finley family. But I just, the ceiling for Aaron McLaughlin, because of not only his arm, but also too his mobility, is just ridiculous. I mean, you can't let that go.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be Finley, because McLaughlin was the guy. Think about it. Tim Beck brought McLaughlin in. It was his first quarterback, and he's the guy. And he's already at the
okay. So you're saying So you're saying Ben Finley is going to transfer. I see what you're saying.
If that happens, it'll be Ben Finley, because if you're telling me that it's already out of Orr and he's been here for like what, 6 months, 7 months, and Ben Finley's been here for 2 years, and it's already even essentially.
Supposedly,
that means that someone's accelerating at a higher rate than the other, and you can't tell. I mean, you can't tell me that Tim Beck brought Aaron McLaughlin in his first major recruit to just let him walk. That ain't happening.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree. I
hate that. I hate that for Ben Finley, but that's probably what would happen.
Well, and I'm telling you though, I mean, to think about, again, unfortunately, if Ben Finley did leave, to have Leary starting next season, if he comes back, which he doesn't have to, but we'll see. I think that the quarterback class this year in the NFL is going to be stacked. So I truly do think he comes back another season, if you ask me right now. But we'll see how he does. But you'll have Devin Leary start next season, and then you'd have Aaron McLaughlin and MJ Morris, who's killing it right now, his senior year at high school. That's just another heck of a QB room, which is unreal to even think about. So, and then the year after that, you'd have Lex Thomas coming in, so you could have Aaron McLaughlin, MJ Morris, and Lex Thomas. So that's what I'm saying. It's great to know that for at least the next couple of years, we're set at quarterback.
It's QBU.
It's QBU. Yeah, we're set. We're set. So, so I know we're kind of getting towards the end here of our time. So wanted to kind of ask, so this is kind of a quick question, but out of all the wide receivers that we have, who would you say will lead the team this year in receiving yards?
Receiving yards, not receptions.
Receiving yards.
I would say Mezzi for yards and Thayer Thomas for reception.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I
agree too.
Who will be touchdowns scored? I think you're going to see Carter up there for touchdown score, personally.
Yeah, just throw it up to him in the end zone.
I think so. I think it'll be pretty even touchdown score. I think you'll see maybe like one guy have one or two more than the other. But I agree. I think you're going to see more receiving yards for Mezzi and receptions for Thayer.
Yep. And actually one thing too, which I'll bring up after I make this point. But again, I said it in my predictions video, but I cannot wait for that Forest game because of the fact I still am debating in my head whether I can go back to Wake Forest. But from however I watch it, whether in TV or in person, I think Emeka goes off that game. I think that is his redemption year from that 2017 season where he made that mistake.
Give me the ball. Just give me the ball.
Oh, dude, feed him. Feed Emeka that game. Oh, score 3-4 touchdowns that game, Emeka. Go off that game. But actually, one thing which I actually wanted to bring up, to the fans tuning in, to those who are watching afterwards, and even to you, Michael, as well. The one cool story that actually, this is kind of an inside treat here. So after the interview with Country, when we finished, Maka and I, he actually told us this cool little fact about, because one of the things we were talking about or asking is, so why did State decide to move away from the stripe? Because we had the stripe for years, and so one said,
this is a good story. This is a cool,
on the helmet, helmet, in the middle,
right? Because for years they had the stripe.
We don't have that anymore.
We don't have the stripe anymore. And so we asked, why is that? And so one of the things he said, well, first of all, he said that kind of one of the fashion trends is having the bigger logo, having, much more standout Tuffy head. But also, too, because of the fact that, and this kind of speaks to Doran as a coach, is that one of the things that he was noticing is that when he would watch film back of his team, you would see like the aerial shots, and the stripes help give away where the defender's head is pointing in terms of what are they looking at. And so, because if you take away the stripe, it's not as easy to see where his head pointing.
If I do this, well, you can tell. The slight
exactly,
head movement,
and that's what the stripe is doing for him. So that can help out that team. And because fans might say, well, what is that? I mean, is that really going to matter? Trust me, defense, football information is key.
Yep.
Information is key.
And it's not, I just thought that was like, when he told me that, I was like, that is so intuitive. I mean, I would have never thought that, but it matters. If you're trying to win, every little thing matters.
Mm-hmm. That make a difference.
So speaking of helmets, what do you guys think of the jerseys for tomorrow?
That's what was my next question. I wanted to bring it up because, yeah, I love it. I mean, I literally got goosebumps when I saw it. I mean, I totally kind of expected something like it, but to see it in person and see the brick formation on the numbers was ridiculous. Now, the one thing which I will say to anybody out there that didn't like the look of the uniforms at first, wait till you see it in person until you truly make your opinion. Because I think that really does kind of show off, really the actual uniform. Makes it really, when it looks the best, is when you see it in person, not just seeing it on a video screen. So that's my 2 cents. So they can go ahead.
So face value,
yeah,
I wasn't crazy about them.
Face value, I don't like the pinstripes either.
Yeah, and I no offense to Country, great. Starting to become a friend with him, but I know Layton's a really great close friend with him. And we had a great interview. I just wasn't psyched about it. I think there's been a ton of other jerseys that he's done and the team's done that have been great. Mm-hmm. This one is different. Now, I will say, I was actually talking with someone else today who gave me insight, and I didn't read this, but apparently if you go and you look at the official posting that the team made about the jersey, you had the details as to why they did what they did, the intentionality. And I can appreciate it more when I read that, because for those who don't know, the pinstripes are there to reference like an old original outfit that Tuffy wore as the mascot to some degree. So it actually is an intentional thing for a reference to something like Tuffy the mascot. Obviously, you saw the Tuffy on the back of the jerseys, which I'm gonna be curious if every player has Tuffy or if
I doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but it'll be the pinstripes are a reference apparently to that. Also the gray, because you have the brick bell tower. I liked the crest they had here. I like any use of the slobbering root wolf. I think is cool. I even thought the lettering, the brick print they did on the numbers was kind of neat. I just wasn't crazy about the pin, like as a whole. I'm not crazy about the brick look of the helmet, and I'm not crazy about the pinstripes. But again, I haven't seen it in person, and I'm going to. And I remember, I think there was another jersey I thought that about previously, kind of like, okay, and like it's all right. It's like, and I saw it, I was like, okay, now I get it. So I think that's what's probably going to happen.
Well, because I would say to a lot of State fans that, I mean, I completely agree that I don't think the point of this uniform was necessarily to be flashy. I think it was just more of to be different, but also to point out and kind of connect with NC State, that we're basically connecting with the bell tower and connecting with, lighting it red, And so I think that it more is a value in terms of meaningful necessarily than it's flashy. Like, I mean, you look at like the 2017 Louisville game, those are flashy. But I don't think this is meant necessarily to be flashy. I think it's supposed to be, different, and kind of show off more of what NC State has to offer and using the slobbering wolf instead of, we've used a diamond, we've used Tuffy, we've used a Block S. Now we're using the slobbering wolf. It's like, again, it kind of Country actually mentioned it in terms of how amazing it is that we have red, black, and white, because you can have so many combinations. Think of having the different color combinations and the different logo combinations. I mean, it's all open.
I think what I would have done personally differently, again, it's a lot of work. Apparently Country said, Country's the football equipment manager, for those who don't know who we're talking about. This was designed, I think, starting 2 years ago. And every jersey, every uniform combo is designed 2 years in advance. So what you've seen now is from 2 years ago. And it was more, this one in particular was more involved with the administration and the athletic department than it was internal to the football team. So that's why you had more of that kind of, that history there with the jersey. But I would have I think the Tuffy face right now, the big one they have on the helmets, is awesome. And I like it because it's so big. This one right behind me. But I think they should have done that with the slobbering wolf. Make that thing just a big old fat slobbering wolf. Because it just kind of comes across me like it's just kind of there, and it's not like a big one. Like the they did the strutting wolf one at one point a few years ago, and it was kind of small. And I thought
it was small too,
make it bigger. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I would say.
So we only got about 2 more minutes here. So I really wanted to kind of wrap it up by saying, I'll give it to you, Michael, first, since it's your first time on with us. I'll give it to you, Macon. I'll finish off. What is your score prediction for tomorrow? Go.
This is tough. I mean, we're an 18.5-point favorite. I think we do cover that. I think I see it being like a 38-15, 38-14.
Okay.
Right in there.
Okay. Macon?
I think it'll be something like a 38-20. I think you'll see – I think they're going to have to kick a lot of field goals personally. Not State, South Florida. So that's why I kind of have the 20 number in there somewhere. I think maybe they'll get a touchdown, and then there'll be some field goals, and I think that's what's going to happen, I think. I think you'll see State, early fourth quarter, I believe. I think it'll look something like 31-14, 31-17, and then you'll see State switch some of their starters out, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like a 38-20-ish kind of score. That would be right at 18. That's what I think.
Yeah, so I think we're all kind of the same ballpark in terms of what USF has, between like 15 to 21 points, give or take, that we're going to give them, which I agree. I think like 14 or 17 points for USF, and I think honestly like 10 of those points will be from against our starters. And then I think that one of them will come, against our second team.
Yeah.
But I truly think that we can get into the 40s. I think that we could easily have 28 points heading into halftime. I think that. I think we come out quick. I think we come out strong. I think we come out hungry, and we set a statement from the beginning, because Doran's gonna say that, like, we got to shoot all hell blazing from the moment that ball is kicked. So
I will add this too. So I've heard USF is I will say this USF is a tougher non-conference opponent than what State normally opens up with. Now they have played like a team like Louisiana Tech before, which is about the same, relatively speaking. But State almost lost Louisiana Tech first year. Now, granted, totally different team, totally different talent level. But I mean, they don't need to go into this like they think it's going to be a cakewalk either. We had the preview, and they have, Cade Fortin's going to be starting. Then they've got the Miami backup quarterback, Jaron Williams. But their linebackers are going to be the strength of their team, and State needs to be prepared. I could very well see it being more like a 14-point game. It could happen like that. I just think they're going to be a good opponent for State to get a taste in their mouth early, to then go and have, like, I think, a 10-day rest going into playing in Starkville against Mississippi State.
Yeah. Well, because again, we said that in the video, but the sooner that our starters can get out and start to get rest and stay as far away from injuries as possible heading into Mississippi State, the better. So simple as that. Well, thank you all again for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Obviously, I mean, cannot wait in less than 24 hours to finally have NC State football back again. And definitely, again, make sure to follow us on Twitter, and we'll be tweeting before the game, during the game, after the game, all that jazz. And also, too, one thing to mention as well is on Sunday, we're actually going to be doing we're going to start to do every Sunday or so, do like a 30, 45-minute kind of post-game thoughts live stream, where we just kind of talk about the game that just happened, talk about our immediate thoughts, talk about the game coming up, and have you fans there. So that way we can kind of start to having a recurring thing, and, sometimes maybe all three of us will be on, maybe sometimes only two of us, but we'll be here just to talk with you fans about our thoughts and hear your thoughts about the game as well. So make sure to tune in for that. So thank you all again for tuning in, and looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow at a packed Carter Finley, and stay safe. And as always, go Pack, y'all.
Go Pack.
Go Pack, baby.